Hello, you are on channel Real Books, and today we'll talk about the book Mere Christianity. For those who do not consider themselves Christians, this book is a great opportunity to get an explanation of what Christians believe. For Christians, it is a great help in understanding what they believe. All in all, this book is worth reading for anyone who wants to know what true Christianity is. According to the influential publication Christianity Today, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis took the first position in 100 best Christian books of the 20th century. Without exaggeration, this book has changed the world and continues to change the understanding and perception of Christianity through the presentation of its profound truths in simple words. One of the great benefits of this book is that it is not just trying to give you content, but as you follow Lewis's thoughts after him, he begins to lead you through a train of thought and teaches you. In this book, Christianity appeals to reason. The author argues that being a Christian is intellectually correct. So if you draw the right conclusions, you can't help but believe in God and that Jesus is the incarnation of God of the Son. The uniqueness of the work is that the author, Clive Lewis, switched from the faith as a child to atheism in adolescence, but all in all returned to Christianity. He did not cease the constant study and exploring because he tried to explain all the phenomena of this religion to himself in the first place. Lewis contemplated faith a lot. Christianity caused him many questions and rapid revolts. Eventually, in 1929, he recognized himself as a man who believed in God. And then he directed his zeal to the defense of Christianity. After World War I, Clive Lewis and his friends set themselves the task of doing what their friends who died in the war did not have the time to do, to encourage young people to read the Gospel. They understood that there was a lack of religious books that could speak to young people and lead them to the Bible. This book is a collection of Lewis's speeches on the radio during World War II between 1941 and 1944. This came about because of the BBC Religious Broadcasting Company, and it was a man named James Welch who wrote to Lewis in 1941 with a suggestion to talk about the Christian faith on the wire. Lewis explained to the soldiers, who could die at any moment, the simple truth of Christianity. Lewis here is as sincere as possible. He remembers what war is, because he was a soldier himself. So he tries to clarify what Christianity is and who Christ himself is. Now, no rating of the best Christian authors will be complete without the name of the author of the famous Chronicles of Narnia, the British Clive Staple Lewis. Having converted to Christianity at the age of 33, he became a world-renowned theologian and writer. He is considered one of the best defenders of the Christian faith of his time. While explaining the purpose of the book, Lewis says that he is only writing to defend mere Christianity, only the core of the religion, the beliefs common to all denominations. Also, he says that the divisions should never be discussed, except in the presence of Christians, because it will only turn unbelievers away from the faith. Basically, Lewis states that unbelievers shouldn't know how Christians have differences within the faith. Let's take a closer look in our Mere Christianity review at some of the main ideas of the book. The law of human nature. Lewis argues that there is a universal human conception about right and wrong. We have a built-in sense of justice. Lewis claims that only God could have instilled this moral sense in all of us. Atonement. Then, the author references the atonement. Christians must be careful to distinguish between the fact of the atonement and the theories of the atonement. A Christian is committed to the fact of the atonement. He may pick and choose in regard to the theories of the atonement. No explanation of Christian choices will be free of mystery, though. Not even God could admit the non-riches into heaven without an atonement. Temperance. Lewis brings up temperance. Though we often limit it to mean abstinence from liquor, it is concerned with the moderate use of all things which are good. In certain light, Lewis thinks that there is a purpose for the things like drugs, marijuana, and tobacco. He says, in order to live the Christian life publicly, we must be first a Christian in our personal moral lives. In reference to entering heaven, the author claims it is the succession of free choices that make us creatures of heaven or hell, not the election of God. Love, marriage, and sexual instincts. When discussing sexual morality, Lewis says, either marriage is complete faithfulness or else total abstinence. This rule is so opposed to sexual instincts that either the rule is wrong or the instinct is depraved. That's why it is possible that keeping our discussions about sex on the down low isn't such a bad idea. The author goes further and insists that there is no excuse for people to say they are no longer in love, because love is just an emotion. It has to be found on the promise of marriage. Nothing else will make it last. Love brings thrills that are only meant to start us off. But there will come a point when love will fade. It will push us on to something better, a more mature kind of love. Who is the head of a family? Within Christian marriage, the husband is the head. Someone must have the deciding vote. The reason for this is that fathers possess impartiality and mothers do not. In addition, women instinctively despise hand-picked men and will be ashamed of being known to boss their husbands around. What is the root of all sins? How can we love our enemies and yet still kill them in wars? C.S. Lewis solved this paradox. He considers pride to be the worst vice, since it is inherently anti-God. Because of pride's wish to rise and power above any other, it is essentially competitive. God hates pride, not for hating his own pride, but for hating the truth which states that God is really on top. Faith. Moving on, Lewis spends a lot of time with faith. No one needs to be praised for accepting evidence, but that it takes strength to fight off our non-rational moods in which we feel tempted to abandon the faith. Such faith is developed by reflection on what one believes and by prayer. When discussing how God is outside of time, the writer compares God to an author. All of the characters and creatures inside the novel are in their own dimension, but the one who created it is beyond it. Is Christianity hard or easy? Lewis brings up this question as to whether it is hard or not to be a Christian. The whole aim of Christianity is the transformation of our being. It is true that Christ asked us to take up a cross, but he promises that the yoke will be sweet. Church activities such as missions and social service are often looked upon as something that ends in itself. But in fact, they are only means to the principal goal, the transformation of human nature. It is possible that the activities of the entire universe are geared to nothing less than this goal, that we may be drawn to the Father through the Son. So, as you think about Christianity, remember to count the cost. His plan is that we should go all the way, and after all, it is what he is planning for us that will be best for us, not what we would like to do. We have gathered some of the most profound and thought-provoking quotes from the book for you to reflect on. As long as you are proud, you cannot know God. A proud man is always looking down on things and people, and of course, as long as you are looking down, you cannot see something that is above you. Even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without ever having noticed it. Faith, in the sense in which I am here using the word, is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted, in spite of your changing moods. A silly idea is current that good people do not know what the temptation means. This is an obvious lie. Only those who try to resist temptation know how strong it is. A man who gives in to temptation after 5 minutes simply does not know what it would have been like an hour later. That is why bad people, in one sense, know very little about badness. They have lived a sheltered life by always giving in. Nothing you have not given will ever really be yours. Do not waste time bothering whether you love your neighbor. Act as if you did. As soon as we do this, we find out one of the best secrets. When you are behaving as if you loved someone, you will presently come to love him. Each day, we are becoming a creature of splendid glory or one of the unthinkable horror. No man knows how bad he is till he has tried very hard to be good. If a man thinks he is not conceited, he is very conceited indeed. Mere Christianity is a revelation, a very deep, holistic image of the Christian faith. This is a powerful invitation to correct the genre of modern preaching, because the church must speak to a person of a specific space and time. Today, we can say with confidence that the church is weak in the intellectual sphere. Clive Lewis understood the need of the time and its language. The priests now also need to think about how to start talking to the word in its language, and it is Lewis who can be the impetus for this. In the modern world, more and more supporters of mere Christianity appear. This is not a deeply intellectual, complex, but a rationally stated concept of faith. Simplicity is to make the faith understandable to his contemporaries, and this simplicity is not in banality, but in accessibility. The greatest value that the readership sees in this book is that Mere Christianity is a book beyond time. And the more time passes, the more valuable it becomes, because global issues remain relevant. And it is the author's humanity, constant struggle and competition with himself that attract readers to C.S. Lewis. To sum it all up, we need to remember that our outlook is determined by who we listen to, what we read, who we know. If we read small books or listen to small music, we are small. If we want to grow, we have to read great books. This is a great book. You have to compete with it. It cannot be taken lightly. Lewis himself competes with Christianity. He accepts it, but constantly struggles, because he tries to understand it to the fullest. This is a very lively Christianity. We now need those who will fight for the truth in the Word. It is not true that spirituality is now declining. People need the Lord, but they do not want to go to church because it doesn't give them a sense of the way to God. The church does not need a lawyer, but a revolutionary like Pope Francis, for us not to separate from God, but approach him. We are leaving you with a quote from Lewis. I am trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about him. I am ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept his claim to be God. That is the one thing we must not say. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would be either a lunatic, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must take your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool. You can spit on him and kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. That was all. Thanks for watching.